The only person who ever came close to defeating Dexter Morgan's dark passenger wasn't a therapist, a lover, or even a family member. It was someone far more unexpected, a man named Brother Sam. Brother Sam's journey began in darkness. Once a violent criminal, his life took a dramatic turn in prison when he found faith, a lifeline that transformed him. By the time he met Dexter, Sam was running an auto shop in Miami's toughest neighborhood. But this wasn't just a garage. It was a sanctuary, a place where ex-convicts found second chances in a world that had given up on them. Think about that for a moment. How often do people in your life judge you for your past, instead of seeing who you are trying to become? That's the kind of judgment Sam faced every day. And yet, he never let it stop him. He believed in redemption not just for himself, but for anyone willing to try. He was living proof that change was possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds. When Dexter first met Brother Sam, he couldn't help but feel skeptical. Dexter's world was one of absolutes, defined by Harry's Code, a set of rules that left no room for concepts like forgiveness or mercy. To him, Sam's faith seemed naive at best, a delusion at worst. How could a man with such a violent past believe in something as abstract as grace? For Dexter, whose life was built around cold logic and calculated actions, the idea of redemption felt like a fairy tale. But Sam's presence was impossible to ignore. He didn't just preach forgiveness, he embodied it. His auto shop wasn't just a business. It was a symbol of his belief that even the most broken people could be made whole again. And perhaps on some level, Dexter was curious. Could someone like Sam truly exist in a world as dark as his own? Could a man who once walked the same violent path as Dexter find peace? Sam didn't approach Dexter the way most people did. Where others saw a brilliant forensic expert or a doting father, Sam saw the storm behind his calm exterior. He recognized the struggle, the push and pull between the man Dexter wanted to be and the monster he feared he truly was. And unlike everyone else, Sam didn't look away. He didn't flinch. Instead, he reached out with compassion. Imagine for a moment, someone truly seeing you, not just the version you show to the world, but the raw, unfiltered you, your flaws, your fears, your darkness. How would you respond? That's what Dexter faced in Sam. And while Dexter wanted to dismiss him, he couldn't. For the first time in years, someone wasn't judging him or fearing him. Someone believed he could be more than his darkness. But was Dexter ready to believe it himself? Sam's philosophy was simple but profound. You're not defined by your darkness, brother. You can choose the light. At first, these words sounded like empty platitudes to Dexter. Darkness wasn't just a part of his life. It was his life. It was his survival mechanism, the very thing that kept him functioning in a world he felt he didn't belong to. Letting go of it? That seemed not only impossible but dangerous. After all, if Dexter wasn't his dark passenger, who was he? Yet, Sam didn't just speak in abstract ideas. His faith wasn't confined to sermons or lofty ideals. It was tangible, lived out in every action he took. Every ex-convict he gave a second chance to, every life he helped rebuild, was a testament to his belief that no one was beyond redemption. Dexter, ever the observer, couldn't help but notice this. He watched men who carried deep scars, men society had long given up on, find a renewed sense of purpose under Sam's guidance. These weren't just words, this was proof. And deep down, Dexter couldn't ignore it. Have you ever met someone whose presence alone makes you question your own beliefs? Someone who challenges your worldview not through arguments, but through the way they live. That's what Sam was to Dexter. He didn't try to convince Dexter with debates or logic. He simply lived his truth, and that truth spoke louder than any lecture ever could. For Dexter, Sam's belief in redemption wasn't just unsettling, it was a direct challenge to the very foundation of who he thought he was. Dexter told himself he didn't want to change, that he didn't need to. Yet, when Sam spoke, Dexter couldn't look away. There was something undeniable about him. Sam didn't just talk about transformation, he lived it. His honesty wasn't just refreshing, it was disarming. A man like Sam, who had walked through his own darkness, had nothing to hide. But Dexter? He had spent his entire life hiding behind a mask. What happens when someone sees past that mask and doesn't flinch? One day, Sam said, "We all have shadows, brother, but they don't have to control us." For Dexter, these words hit like a sledgehammer. His entire existence was built on the belief that his darkness was uncontrollable, that the monster inside him was an unchangeable truth. But what if Sam was right? What if the shadows that haunted Dexter weren't invincible? What if they could be managed, or even defeated? Imagine someone telling you that the thing you hate most about yourself, the thing you're convinced defines you, doesn't have to. Would you believe them, or would you hold on to it, too scared to imagine a world without it. That's the struggle Dexter faced. Sam's words planted a seed of doubt in a mind that had always been so sure. Dexter had spent his life controlling others, controlling his urges, but now, for the first time, he had to wonder if he'd been wrong all along. That doubt terrified him. Then came the moment that shattered everything. Brother Sam was shot by one of his own, a man Sam had trusted, believed in, and tried to save. For Sam, it was the ultimate test of his faith in redemption. For Dexter, it was a brutal reminder of the risks of believing in people. How could someone like Sam, who had built his life on second chances, pay the ultimate price for his kindness? Was this proof that forgiveness and redemption were just illusions? And here's a question for you. How would you react if someone you trusted, someone you believed in, betrayed you so deeply? Most of us would feel anger. Some of us might feel hate. Dexter? He felt something else. When he visited Sam in the hospital, he expected bitterness. What he saw instead was peace. Sam, lying there with his life slipping away, didn't radiate anger or despair, only forgiveness. How could someone be at peace after such a betrayal? Sam's words to Dexter in those final moments would haunt him forever. It's not about what happens to us, brother. It's about what we choose to do with it. For a man like Dexter, whose life was ruled by control and precision, this was incomprehensible. Choice, forgiveness, those weren't strengths, they were vulnerabilities. To forgive was to risk losing control, and for Dexter, control was everything. Then came Sam's final request. He didn't ask Dexter for revenge. He didn't ask for justice. He asked for forgiveness, for the man who had shot him. To Dexter, this was unthinkable. Forgiveness went against everything Harry's code had taught him. Justice, as Dexter understood it, was about punishment. Forgiveness, in his eyes, was weakness, a way to let evil slip through the cracks. And yet, Sam didn't just ask, he demanded it. What do you do when someone you respect, maybe even admire, asks you to do the one thing you believe you're incapable of? For Dexter, forgiveness wasn't just a request, it was a challenge to see the world and himself differently. But could Dexter ever let go of his darkness long enough to take that step? Or was Sam's faith in him destined to fail? When Sam passed away, Dexter experienced something he hadn't felt in years: grief. Real, unfiltered grief. It wasn't just the loss of a friend, it was the loss of something deeper, a guiding light, a glimpse of a life beyond the darkness. Dexter wrestled with Sam's request long after he was gone. Could he forgive? Should he forgive? Or would forgiveness mean betraying everything he had ever known? The struggle tore at Dexter's very core. On one hand, he felt an obligation to honor Sam's dying wish, to show that Sam's faith in him wasn't misplaced. On the other hand, every instinct in him screamed for vengeance. How could he let go of the darkness that had defined him for so long? Would forgiveness mean denying the very part of him that had kept him alive all these years? And here's the haunting truth. Even as Dexter sought revenge, Sam's words lingered. They echoed in his mind, challenging him at every turn. It's not about what happens to us, brother. It's about what we choose to do with it. In the end, Dexter made his choice. But did it bring him peace? Or did it only deepen the emptiness Sam's death left behind? Ultimately, Dexter gave in to his darker impulses. He tracked down Sam's killer, driven by a familiar need for vengeance. It was what he knew best, the only way he could make sense of the senseless betrayal that had taken Sam's life. But as Dexter stood over his target, ready to deliver justice as he saw it, Sam's voice echoed in his mind. Forgiveness is for you, not them. For the first time, Dexter paused. Not because he wanted to spare the man, but because the idea of forgiveness planted a doubt he couldn't ignore. Dexter's hesitation didn't last. He carried out the act, as he always had, following the code that defined him. But this time, something was different. The satisfaction he usually felt after delivering his version of justice wasn't there. Instead, he was left with a hollow emptiness, an unfamiliar void that no act of vengeance could fill. For the first time, Dexter began to question the very foundation of his actions. Was Harry's code enough? Was his darkness truly the only way he could exist? Sam's final words had shaken something deep within Dexter. Forgiveness was a concept he had always dismissed as weakness, a way for people to justify letting evil go unpunished. But what if Sam had been right? What if forgiveness wasn't about the other person, but about freeing yourself from the weight of your own darkness? It was a question that lingered, haunting Dexter long after the moment had passed. Brother Sam's death marked a turning point for Dexter. not because it changed his actions, but because it changed his thoughts. For the first time, Dexter saw a crack in the armor of his code, a possibility, however distant, that there might be another way to live. Sam's death wasn't just the loss of a friend, it was the loss of a guiding light, someone who had shown Dexter a path he never thought possible. In many ways, Sam left behind more than memories. He left Dexter with an enduring challenge. Unlike Harry, who gave Dexter strict rules to contain his darkness, Sam offered something Harry never could: a choice. The choice to let go, to find peace, to become something more than his dark passenger. And though Dexter ultimately chose the shadows, Sam's influence lingered, forcing him to confront the idea that his darkness might not define him forever. Sam may not have defeated Dexter's dark passenger, but he came closer than anyone else ever did. His words remained with Dexter, haunting him, challenging him, and reminding him of what could have been. Do you think Brother Sam could have truly saved Dexter if he had lived longer? Or was Dexter always destined to fall back into the darkness? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.